Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to bring to you on the topic which is very, very current. And today, our topic is a very special topic, especially for the youth and the students, and that is online education, challenges, and the way forward. But before I will start, I would like to inform you all that today, India is observing Infant Protection Day. Infant Protection Day is celebrated on 7th November every year. The day aims to celebrate the day to spread awareness about the safety of infants and protect their lives by taking proper care of infants. It should be made aware that due to the lack of proper protection and proper care, newborns face a lot of problems. In India, the infant mortality rate is higher as compared to other countries due to the lack of health care. The government has announced an effective measure to prevent infant mortality by implementing it. Due to the lack of basic health services, lack of awareness, and the increasing burden of the population, there has not been an expected reduction in infant mortality. Infants are tomorrow's citizens, and it is necessary to protect them as they are the future of the world. We wish that no infant should lose their life due to lack of awareness. We are also observing today the National Cancer Awareness Day to highlight the significance of increased awareness about cancer prevention and early detection among the general public. The National Cancer Awareness Day in India is observed on November 7. The government had initiated the National Cancer Control Program in 1975 with a view to provide cancer treatment facilities in the country, and in 1984-85 was given the thrust on prevention and early detection of the disease. The day coincides with the birth anniversary of eminent French-Polish scientist Madame Curie. Madame Curie is known for her discovery of radium and polonium and her huge contribution to the fight against cancer. Her groundbreaking work led to the development of nuclear energy and the radiotherapy for the treatment of cancer. In India, nearly 1.1 million new cases are being reported annually. 2/3 of cancer cases are diagnosed at an advanced stage, reducing patients' chances of survival. It is estimated that one woman dies of cervical cancer every 8th minute in India. Tobacco, smoked and smokeless use accounted for 317,928 deaths in men and women in 2018. We hope this day will create more and more cancer awareness so that many lives can be saved. Today, we are also celebrating the birth anniversary of Sir Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman, popularly known as Dr. C.V. Raman. Dr. Raman was born on 7th November 1888. He was an Indian physicist who made groundbreaking works in the field of light scattering. He discovered that when light travels a transparent material, some of the deflected light change wavelength and amplitude. This phenomenon was a new type of scattering of light and was subsequently known as the Raman effect. Dr. Raman won the 1930 Nobel Prize in Physics and was the first Asian person to receive a Nobel Prize in any branch of science. Now, coming to our main topic, that is online education challenges and the way forward. Talk to people, connect with them, make the e-education sound like it's a conversation between people, real people, not robots. Online education is like a rising tide. It's going to lift all boats. Online education emerged in 1982 when the Western Behavioral Sciences Institute in La Jolla, California, opened its School of Management and Strategic Studies. The school employed computer conferencing to deliver a distance education program to business executives. In 1989, the University of Phoenix began offering education programs through the internet. In 1993, with the debut of first internet web browser created by the University of Illinois, online education began to flourish. In 1998, the first fully online program started by New York University. In 2000, only 8% of the students were enrolled in an online course, but by 2008, enrollment had increased to 20%. By 2013, nearly 30% of all post-secondary students were enrolled in some kind of distance education courses. In 2020, the global coronavirus pandemic prompted many universities to hastily transition to online education in lieu of holding classes in person. The COVID-19 has resulted in schools shut all across the world. Globally, over 1.2 billion children are out of the classroom. As a result, education has changed dramatically with the distinct rise of e-education, whereby teaching is undertaken. Now, to discuss about today's topic, online education, challenges, and the way forward, we have a very elite, educated, experienced panel with us who are expert in their fields. And we would like to invite them one by one. And my first guest is Professor Dr. Sandeep Shastri. Professor Shastri is the Pro Vice Chancellor of Jain and heads its Center for Research in Social Sciences and Education, CERSSE. He prefers to call himself a researcher by training, a teacher by passion, a trainer by practice, and above all, a lifelong learner. His research has focused on understanding Indian politics from the prism of citizens' perspectives. His writings have largely been on electoral politics, Karnataka politics, and federalism. He has authored over 7 books, written over 50 chapters in edited books, and over 75 articles in referred journals. He is the co-chair of the research committee of the International Political Science Association, IFSA, that focuses on comparative survey research. As the national coordinator of Lokniti Network, he has been part of the team that has undertaken the national election study for the last quarter century. He was the World Bank consultant on governance in Nepal. He leads the Forum of Federations consultancy project in Myanmar on capacity building for transition to democracy. He was also part of the Forum of Federations team that was involved in consultancy on constitutional making in South Sudan and federalism reform in Sudan. Dr. Shastri writes for the print media in Karnataka, Kannada, Hindi, and English, and more than 200 of his op-ed pages, articles have appeared in well-known newspapers. Dr. Shastri was privileged to play a key role in drafting Karnataka's youth policy by serving as the chairman of the drafting committee of the said policy. Welcome, Professor Dr. Shastri. Dr. Shastri, as you know, that today's topic is about online education, and you being the Pro Vice Chancellor of the Jain University. So your experience, how your university is doing, and what are the experiences, good or bad. So we would like to know online education, challenges, and the way forward. Professor Dr. Sandeep Shastri, please. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a delight to share this space with my distinguished fellow panelists and also with this very knowledgeable audience that we have here today. I think this theme of online education, the challenges we face and the way ahead is very, very critical. I would start by making 4 points. In the last 7 months, spread over 214 days, uh, I at Jain have been involved with more than 1,000 hours of online classes. We started our online classes at Jain right from the fourth week of March when the lockdown was announced, and we continue it even today. To start with 3 points, I think it's important for us to note that online education is not the new normal, is not a default option for all of us. Online education is today becoming a focus because of what I would call a pandemic induced alternative. The online education today is a pandemic induced option. And as we move forward, hopefully soon, away from this pandemic, I think online education will be part of blended learning. That for me is the way forward. The way forward for me is blended learning, which combines online and the physical classroom. Having said this, let me spend the rest of my time talking about what I would call Panchasutras. For me, there are Panchasutras, 5 dimensions of going forward, keeping in mind our challenges. Sutra number 1. Online education is undoubtedly closely linked to the role of technology. I would make 2 points on technology which we need to keep in mind as we move forward. Online education should not lull us into a complacency that technology is replacing the teacher. Technology is only a aid to learning. We are in online education going for technology mediated learning, not technology controlled learning. I think this is a big challenge we need to deal with. There is this belief that online education, now technology takes over, etc., etc. Sorry. For me, online, offline, any line, learning comes first. Technology is a platform, online is a platform. The learners, both the facilitator and the student, are together part of this process. So, this is my first sutra. Sutra number 2. I think the pandemic has forced us to realize that the boundaries of our classroom are changing. We should have realized this much earlier, but the pandemic has forced us to realize this. That the classroom is not limited to the 4 walls in which the traditional classroom was conducted. Today, with online gaining visibility, viability, I would believe the classroom is boundaryless, the classroom is borderless, and the classroom has an opportunity to become a genuine space of learning rather than a platform for teaching. Online is not a platform for teaching. Online is a zone for learning. I think it's important we realize this fact. Sutra number 3. As I said in the beginning, I think the way forward is blended learning. A combination of online and physical classrooms. We moved from the visual to the virtual, and now we need to move from the virtual to the blended. As we move forward, the blended classroom will be the classroom of the future. And when I say blended, I'm making an important point which I would want everybody to please keep in mind. We will need to make a clear distinction between what is better done online and what is necessarily have to be done in a physical classroom. It's not that blended learning happens automatically. Blended learning will have to be calibrated over time. What is suitable online, what is suitable in the physical classroom? When we look at our syllabi, which dimensions of our syllabi are more suitable for an online dialogue, which ones require face to face discussion? What I would say is blended learning would force us to put content in context. We will need to contextualize the content we are talking about. Sutra number 4. Online classes has taught me one thing. Our whole assessment system needs to change. Our whole assessment pattern needs to change. In these 1,000 hours of classes I have had, I have been lucky to be able to make my class 50% student talk and 50% teacher talk. The online classes has allowed for an engagement with the student. What is the challenge? Online classes does not allow for too much of spontaneity, which the regular face-to-face class allows for. The online class requires me to be much more prepared before I enter the classroom, before I enter the online classroom. If I want worksheets, it has to be sent beforehand. If I'm going to do group work, which now online allows through your breakout classrooms, I need to send the material for the case studies beforehand. I cannot distribute it in the class like I do in a physical classroom. I need to make the groups beforehand. So a lot of planning from my side as a faculty has to happen beforehand. Also, friends, when I talk of assessment, we at Jain came up with online exams where we started off with what I call open book exams, where students could consult any material and write their answers. Therefore, the questions were such that all questions were application oriented. You could not open any notebook, or you could not ask Dr. Google what are the answers to that question. Neither Dr. Google nor your books would give you the answers to the questions. The student needed to have understood the topic and then apply the answer in the exam. And of course, we trained the boys and girls to do that. What did we also do? And this was a great task for teachers. We had personalized questions for everybody. No two students got the same question paper. We had personalized questions for students. In fact, when we used MCQs, no MCQ could be answered by Googling that MCQ into a website. Now, this is the challenge. What earlier would take 5 minutes to prepare a question, which would take 2 minutes to prepare, now a question takes 10 to 15 minutes to prepare, because you have to think about the application dimension. So I think the online has forced us to move out of stereotypes. Goelji had told me 10 minutes, so I have just exactly 1 minute more. And I come to my last point, my last sutra. My last sutra believes that blended learning would require a meaningful partnership of all stakeholders. We succeeded with online education simply because the student, the teacher, the parent, the management was all involved in the online classroom. We took our parents into confidence. We built up the self-esteem of our teachers. We convinced the students that this is the best we can do in this time, and our students felt that they have benefited greatly from this. We did not see parents as a problem. We saw parents as partners. If a parent wants to come and also sit in the class, what's the problem? Come on, you also learn with them. We convinced parents, let's look at the positives rather than only complaining. And parents became our partners in this whole process. So for me, friends, as we move forward, these Panchasutras are for me the way forward, and blended learning is the way forward. And 7 months of online learning has taught us certain advantages of online learning. Let us leverage those advantages of online learning, and then let us also remember the benefits of conventional learning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Shastri. And Dr. Shastri clearly said that online education or online learning is not a new phenomena. It was there, but definitely because of the pandemic, we have to start. And he said that in Jain University, they have started from the last week of the March. And in the last 7 months, they have done more than 1,000 hours online teaching. And this
Lal sir, I mean each individual teacher has done 1,000 hours of online
okay,
teaching.
because yes, okay. So each teacher has done more than 1,000 hours of teaching in last 7 months. Now he said that there are 5 points, 5 sutra, which he said, which he has already explained. But the main crux is that because there are lots of challenges also, but there are way forwards. He says now the online learning has to be blended, where you have the online as well as offline, that we always see where what we require and how to be required. Secondly, he says the partnership between parents, management, teachers, and students. If a parent wants to sit in the class, online class, he is most welcome. Thirdly, he says we allow students to use the help of the books. But he said that our question papers, which we are setting up, are such that you cannot find the answers easily in time in the books or with the help of Google. So according to him, the challenge is to set up the question papers, which usually takes 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Now it is taking 10 to 15 minutes to address the students, because earlier the teacher has not to do so much homework, but now they have to circulate the sheets, they have to send every material beforehand, then only the class can start. So there are challenges, but there are way forward. And he says that it is only possible if with the cooperation of everybody. And he says in the Jain University, we are open. Anyone can come see how we are doing. And he says that we are very successful. We are allowing students to speak for 50 percentage of the time, and 50% the teachers are speaking. So giving the full experience, good experience to exposures to the teachers as well as the students. Thank you very much, Professor Sandeep Shastri, for giving your 5 sutras. I'm sure that our viewers and especially the students and the parents are going to be very much benefited with your this particular 5 points. Now I would like to move to my next guest, and I invite my next guest. He is Professor Dr. K. Sankaran. Professor Dr. K. Sankaran is the Director of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE. He is BTech Honors from IIT Kharagpur, PGDM from IIM Bangalore. He has done PhD from Kent State University, USA. He has several years of academic experience in India, US, UK, Middle East, and East Asia. He started his career with Tata's. He has several years of experience in management, consulting, and project management. Dr. Sankaran has widely published his articles in highly rated international journals such as Strategic Management Journal and Journal of Marketing Management, and many others. Currently, he is researching in the area of higher education governance and andragogy. I welcome Professor Dr. K. Sankaran. Professor Dr. K. Sankaran, you have heard what Professor Dr. Shastri has mentioned, and he has given his 5 sutras. And according to Professor Dr. Shastri, there are challenges, but there's a way ahead forward. Now, we would like to know from you the online education challenges and the way forward. Professor Dr. K. Sankaran, please. Please unmute. Professor, sir, please unmute.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be with Lalji. This is my second going. I've listened to a lot of his lectures earlier, and the wide range of topics that you pick up, and the ones that you pick up on education particularly, I think it's extremely useful. And I'm indeed very, very thankful to have all the guests over here. Mr. Sandeep Shastri, I talked to him once twice on phone, if he remembers. So that was a really good exchange. Of course, Mr. Professor Dr. Oman Memon, he had brought us wonderful students here, and we had some very, very meaningful exchange. First time I'm meeting Dr. Goel. Very nice to have you here, sir. Um, I think the sutras that Dr. Shastri talked about is indeed very, very interesting, and I completely agree with all the points. And it rarely happens that one agrees with all these points. I think it's a great opportunity for us, though it came in a very, very uh, pandemic sort of way. But I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and I'm going to talk about what are the fundamental assumptions and if I may say, psychological or sociological moorings on which we stand, which need to be challenged. Just to make it somewhat, kind of add to what Dr. Shastri talked about. So I think learning teaching paradigm needs to be really challenged today, even if we understand that uh, the past needs to be uh, appreciated. So I think there should be some kind of a historical look at what is happening so that we don't get trapped into the past, which has been one of, I think, if I may say, subservience and power based. I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. Um, so what I think we should do is instead of making it teacher versus students or teachers to students, we need to truly make it a social process, because today technology is moving at such a big rate, and there are a lot of things we need to learn from students. So there has to be truly co-development of material and co-development of knowledge. So if we take it as a social process, I think we need to first challenge what is currently happening. And I'm going to be critical here because as an academic, that's a luxury that I have in challenging what we see outside out there and be critical. And that's, I guess, the academic's role, the thought keeper's role. Right now, it's power that really governs most of the things that we do. We should look at the regulatory system, or we look at what is happening in the classroom. I know better than you, so you come prepared, and then we can have some transfer of knowledge. So Frederick very famously said, there's a difference between treating knowledge as uh, something that can be filled into the uh, uh, empty coffers of students versus exchange. I also want to challenge this distinction that people are making today about knowledge versus skills. I think skill is nothing but really, really authentic, appropriate knowledge applied to situations that make oneself, fulfill one's purpose, whatever that purpose is. So I think we need to have some of these distinctions challenged in our society. Knowledge means critical thinking. Critical thinking means not going into the past and saying I did this, that, but saying that I'm not happy with what's happening, including myself, and uh, actually genuinely kind of think about the primary as truth-seeking individuals. Recently, one book came out by Harsh Madhusudan. Currently, I'm reading. He talks about the distinction between society and state, individual versus group. I think this is very, very important. I think we don't have time to discuss this, but I think it's very important to apply it in our learning environment so that excellent students get opportunity to do really great for society, for themselves, and the country. So primacy of truth-seeking individuals. I think for the most part, our governance systems are really catering to the lowest common denominator. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm saying it with compassion because they are excellent students, but we don't have the systems to bring them up in some ways. Um, the moment knowledge comes, we will talk about humanities. India has been giving a lot of importance to content knowledge and professions, rightly so. But then now humanities need to be brought in. Both are required. So in the typical Indian tradition of neither this nor that exclusively, I would say both are required. Because unless we have it, we will be giving a lot of importance to SOP without making a distinction between law and justice, between facts and truth, and between content and knowledge, and so on. So I'll very quickly come to the flipped classroom. I think I have about 4 minutes, sir. Chairman?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Shastri has been so particular about the time. I don't want to kind of break that rule right now. So when we talk about the engagement in the class, so if these are the important things that we have to remember, we need to go back to andragogy. it's a clumsy word, but it's really about how human beings learn at different points in time. Every society at the age of 17 changes the way students are taught. I've looked at African culture, I've looked at South American traditional Mayan, everywhere between the age of 15 to 17, particularly boys. There's a bit of a matriarchal mood to this, but there's a change from control to freedoms. I don't think we have applied that. We try to do the same controlled things in the university too. So what I would say is that flipped classroom is a very important thing. I mean, this is now coming to online, a very specific, what can we do? In other words, only people who are prepared with what is going to be discussed in the class would be available for online discussion. So online discussion truly becomes one of exchange. And that requires a lot of controls to be exercised. I really don't know how these controls can be exercised. We are also very heroically trying new things, but we have not arrived, ideally where they will completely do the studies and then come into the classroom. I think we need to reduce content and give more importance to process. We need to, on online, we need to have breakout groups. We are doing that. I don't think we have reached the best we can, but we are trying out these things with different kinds of software, so that people have an opportunity to discuss things with themselves. So I have championed for banquet style seating rather than the traditional classroom where you have this hierarchy created, I versus so many of you together kind of a thing. I think content is and context are extremely important. I think we need to make a difference between, as Dr. Shastri mentioned, content and process. I think we need to have a really process orientation, because the way things are going so fast, I think we need to have more critical thinking, and people who report to us on the base, on management by exception rather than management by what I did kind of a thing. So that's very, very important, because there's so much people can say what they have done rather than what is not done, which is expected of in the social sense between in a corporate environment, it will be between the boss and the subordinate, but in the education field, it will be between the student and the teacher. And we need to have this content versus process is extremely important, and we need to have really a different assessment system. Right now we are really incentivizing rote memory. I'm not against by hearting, but I tell first of all, there's no hearting. It's an Indian verb, verb creation from by heart. Similarly, ask my students, have you by headed for today's exam, just to tease them and tell them that, well, it's not really by heart. By heart happens by, the beauty of the poetry, if I may, of prose, of course. So we need to have this kind of understanding that it's not about rote, it's about having a purely cognitive process rather than a affective plus cognitive system, as I'm fond of saying. Indian systems of understanding do indeed have, but we haven't really discussed these things. So, and we need to have trust-based system and open book exam. I have conducted several open book exams, and they work extremely well, and students love it. But I think educators think that they're not ready for it, unfortunately. So I think what I'd like to conclude by saying that we need to challenge the question of what is the purpose of education, and what are the ways that we know. And in the current international environment, I think the Indian system of epistemology of 6 types, one of them being pratyaksha, and pratyaksha is external plus internal. That internal aspect has been completely forgotten. I think we need to bring it back, and I think we have forgotten more than the post-positivistic, interpretivistic tradition that the West is trying to bring in. So we have overlearned from the British, according to me. I have wonderful friends in the West, but then we have overlearned, and we kind of think of things so positivistically. Part of it is the excessive importance given to professional education rather than overall development of the individual. I think if we can take care of that, we have wonderful people in this country, but our systems are really failing us, according to me. Online learning would lead to greater consciousness, not self-consciousness, consciousness of what self can do and think and think and talk. Manasa vaja karmana. And some form of individuation come in, where people become autonomous. To create autonomous students and youngsters, we need to have autonomous faculty, which is not happening today, because everything is told to be done this. There is absolutely no time for universities. I've been fortunate to be part of, some of the well-funded Indian institutions. But I think 90% of education in this country is suffering from, regulatory overload. And I know there are a lot of changes that's happening. The NEP, I think it's wonderful that things are happening, and I'm very, very happy about this. So this individuation is nothing but some kind of understanding of dharma, that the four purusharthas of dharma, artha, kama, moksha can all be simultaneously or separately pursued. So it's all about the individual at the end of the day. But this individual is a very, very high conscious individual who really, enjoys giving something to a child and seeing the smile on the child's face. So we are teleological systems, and I think we will get there if only we understand what the West is doing in its depth and kind of go back to our own roots and say, take the good things from there. So I hope I haven't taken too much time, sir, and I will be happy to
Yeah.
hear the rest.
Thank you very much, Professor Sankaran. And what Professor Dr. Sankaran have made 2-3 points, very important point. First was about the regulatory. He says that education is having lots of regulations. We have to do this, that. But education requires to be done from the heart, from their own, not somebody to regulate. Second point which he has made is that we are overlearned from the Western education. He says, although he is having very good friends in Western countries, but what they are teaching and what we are learning, we have overlearned. We have forgotten our own roots. So we should go to our own roots. We must go. And he says there are lots of challenges as far as the online educations are concerned. But he's also said that NEP, that is the National Education Policy 2020, is a very good way, and if it is implemented properly, definitely it will be beneficial for the students and the teachers and the universities. And he says that in today, well-funded universities are also so much regulated, they have no time for giving a value education. They are giving the education which is really stereotype. You have to do this, that, only that type of thing, nothing which is more with full of consciousness. And although he says the online education has given good points to the students, that they have become more self independent, what to do, how to do, and what to think. But still a lot of way to go so that the online education can be successful. But only thing is, the regulations or the regulatory board has to see to it that they should give free hands, so that the university or the professors or the teachers can decide themselves, and the students will have a free scope to learn more. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. K. Sankaran, for giving your such a frank views about the online education. Now, I would like to invite my next guest. He is Professor Dr. Omen Memon. Professor Omen Memon is the former Dean, Nepunya School of Management, Mangalore. He is postgraduate in management. He is having 42 years of experience in corporate and academics, 17 years in academics and 25 years in teaching. His specialized area is spiritual intelligence in management. He is management consultant, trainer, faculty, development resource person, visiting professors at various institutions across the country. Welcome, Professor Memon, to our show. Professor Memon, you have heard what Professor Dr. Sandeep Shastri has mentioned, what Professor Dr. K. Sankaran has mentioned. Now, we have heard everything, and you have also heard, so I need not to repeat. We would like to know the online education, challenges, and the way forward. Professor Dr. Omen Memon, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm words. I'm closely associated with Dr. Shankaran right from 2014. Unfortunately, I couldn't associate with Dr. Sandeep or with Dr. Goel. Of course, with Mr. Lal Goel, I'm meeting you for the first time. I was keenly listening to our Dr. Sandeep as well as Dr. Shankaran. I basically agree with both of them. The Panchashila, definitely, the 5 points, definitely I agree with him. And whatever Dr. Shankar said, I do agree with him also. The pandemic era is definitely reordering the entire world structure, reordering or re-engineering the attitude, re-engineering or restructuring the every wake of the life. And as Mr. Goel said in your introductory words, it is there for online education is there for quite some time. The same thing has been repeated by Dr. Sandeep also. It is true. It is there for quite some time, but now we are forced to be with regulations. As the regulations, UGC and HR Ministry has given strong regulations that the universities should go or must go with the online classes. Wonderful thing, the wonderful idea. This shows, in a way, it is not hampering the hampering that regular flow of the classes or sharing the knowledge. But when we say that, let me look at the first. Let us look at the positive thing. Positive thing is without flow, the classes are run. The classes are run. The information is being delivered, and system is going without any error or flow. When you look at the negative factor, whether it is right, reaching at the right place at the right time without flow, do we have to look into that? I just let me recall at the introduction, I said I don't have a power supply. That's a very minimal thing I said, power supply. But I do have so many students who doesn't have that internet connections. How will we address those kind of a thing? When you compare the bandwidth of the India with other nations who has got very active, and I think more than 60% of the time on the online classes, their bandwidth and reachability is very high. When you compare with that, the Indian country, where do we stand? I'm not pitying. We have to grow. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of a connectivity. So many of students are there. So many of people, students, young youth, as well as small students, who are in the lower classes, they are also pushed to the online classes, forced to attend the online classes. What will they do? So many people are there who are below the poverty line. They find difficult to invest on. Till the other day, the UGC, the Supreme Court was telling you cannot carry a mobile phone. The psychologists were telling you cannot carry a mobile phone. You cannot allow your kids to log into the websites. Till the other day, our parents, our psychologists, our doctors, all were telling. Unfortunately, I was also one among them who strictly restricted bringing mobile phones to my campus. Now, where are we? How many of our people can afford to buy a mobile phone and can attend? Maybe I'm not going out of the line, I think. This is the basic problem. Yesterday, let me come from the top, come from the higher education system. The other day, I happened to invite the Secretary Higher Education for a program of my previous college. Of course, I am retired. I am at a fully retired life. I invited the Secretary under Education, Higher Education program for a higher education for a program. The first thing he said, Professor, I would like to come, but I don't want to talk to the walls. That Cat-86 had attitude. I don't want to talk to the walls. Let me correlate it with my personal incidents. The other day, I happened to attend one of the program, one of the international webinar in a nearby college, a nearby institute. We had a few panelists from Europe. I was also there. And I can see only some initials on the screen, no faces and only initials on the screen. At the end, there was an interactive session was there. Then a few senior professors and faculty started talking to us. I said, I would like to talk to the students, not to the faculties. The immediate answer came, we don't expect our students to talk with you. Then why are you conducting such a mock drill? You are trying to convince the UGC or NAC accreditation people that you are doing something. So insincerely, they said, we are not expected, our students are not expected to talk. That is why we are talking on behalf of them. Why then a program like that? The other day, I spoke to my grandson. He's in first standard. The first thing he said, Grandpa, so sad. Mama has brought the school to the home. Mama has brought the school to the home. I said, what happened, dear? He said, Grandpa, it is 3 hours I have to sit in the class. 3 hours I have to sit in the class. I'm talking about the lower classes, first standard. Why do we have to be so brutal? We can do anything with the higher education system. Definitely the blend system, blending the campus as well as the online, all put together, there must be program. The blending means it gives them more opportunity for the students to go for research, online researches. But when it comes to the lower classes, don't you think that we are punishing them? It's a strenuous exercise, 3 hours, a first standard, 5-year student sitting in front of a mobile. Till the other day, he was said, don't touch the mobile. And given freely a mobile in his hand. What kind of a conflict is that? What kind of a conflict? Of course, now when it comes back to the higher education system, I think the campus should be or must be a paper-free campus. A paper-free campus, physical interaction must be there between the professors and with the students. It all must be there. Then, unfortunately, we do have the habit of giving lecture notes. That's what I have seen in my college. For the UG student, we give lecture notes. Why do I have to do that? What I feel, maybe certain of the institutes, certain of the campus might have already adopted this system, giving tablets with the Kindle facilities and lots of books you can refer. All your examination on the tablets, evaluation on the tablets, and your assignments on the tablets, your attendance registration on tablets, everything on the tablets. So the online education in the higher sector, higher education sector, definitely there is plenty of scope if it is utilized properly. Unfortunately, what we face now is we don't have that bandwidth facility for each and every student to address. Quite unfortunate situation. This is what we have to address. Then make them to research, go into research right from the first semester of their UG session. Let them go and research online. Plenty of books. Just at the if you spend around 6,000 to 7,000 rupees, you get a tablet. Use that. Subscribe Kindle. Lot of books and digitalize your library. Some of the universities, some of the institution where they can afford might have already digitalized the library. But it should be a norm that entire institution's library must be digitalized and must be in a position that anywhere of the country, any student can log into your library and access the information, the knowledge. That should be the situation we have to create. I don't know what we are going to with the juniors, with our children who studies in first standard and first to 8th standard. Let us consider it like that. Of course, after 10th standard, once they reach the teenage level, they can be given the proper monitor and they have to be made sit in front of online classes. But why to punish the little ones, pressurizing them? I happen to attend that classes. My daughter-in-law has resigned the job just because he wanted to sit with her son to attend the class. Common thing, a common man's affair. I'm talking as a family man, as a grandfather, not as a professor, not as an academician. This is what's happening in the country, maybe all over the world. Not all over the world, I think. In India, this is what's happening. Why to punish the little ones? Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I have not crossed the limits. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Oman, for giving your views. And Professor Oman has given both the views, the positive and negative side. And he said the positive, although first he agreed what Professor Dr. Sandeep Shastri and Professor Dr. K. Sankran said. He said he agrees whatsoever they said. But his views are the negative points are also there. No electricity. Many times the electricity is not there. Internet facility, the bandwidth is very low. How the students can study? He said that we understand that government can regulate and allow the higher studies students to be online. But what about the school-going children, first standard child? Secondly, he mentioned that at one time, few months back, before pre-COVID, we, not only the institutions, but including the Supreme Court has said that no student should be allowed to carry the mobile phone in the institution. Now it is totally reversed. So he said, why this change all of a sudden? Yes, pandemic has done it, but we should have considered about the students. And he said that whatsoever we are giving, if we want to do it for higher studies, we must create a digital libraries in all the institutions, and any student from anywhere can have the access to any of the library of the university or the institute. So the advantage can go. Tablets are there. You can buy the tablets, you can subscribe the Kindle, you can have books on that. But for that, you require money. And he says that because of the BPL students, he has also mentioned about his own experience, that how his daughter-in-law has to resign from the school, from the job where she was working, because she has to take care of a school-going child of first standard. Now, these problems are there as far as online education is concerned. So lots of challenges are there. Positiveness, he says, yes, for higher education, we must have, but the blending means, according to him, we must go for the research. That is very much important, but not for the school-going children. That is what Professor Oman has mentioned. Thank you very much, Professor Oman, for giving your views. And I'm sure that the government or the UGC and NEC, they will definitely consider your views seriously. Now, I would like to go to our next. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and he is Dr. Gautam Goel. Dr. Goel is the Managing Trustee of Gyan Educational Foundation, Uttar Pradesh. He is the member of UP ITI Association. He is the patron of Aligarh ITI Association. Dr. Goel has done B. Mechatronics from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He has done MSc in Aerospace Materials from Sheffield, UK. He has done PhD from Technical University of Delft, Netherlands. Welcome, Dr. Goel, on our show. Dr. Goel, you have heard what Professor Dr. Sandeep Shastri, Professor Dr. K. Shankran, as well as Professor Oman has mentioned. And their views are very clear. Their views are online education is good, but it has to be blended. It cannot be 100% online. It has to be with the in-person education also. What Dr. Shastri has mentioned, that if online is taken in a full spirit properly, what he has had experience in his university, Jain University, that's very, very beneficial and it's far-reaching. What Dr. Sankaran has also giving his views, and he's also very clear that online is good, but the regulations are too much on the institutions and the universities, so they cannot work freely. And once the professors or the deans, they cannot work freely, the education, the proper education cannot be imparted to the students. So he says the regulatory body should reduce the regulations and the free hand should be given. What Professor Omen has mentioned is this type of overnight change from in-person to online because of the pandemic is okay for the higher studies, but not for the school-going children. And in for higher studies, if we are doing, we have to see the infrastructure facilities, electricity problem, internet problem, the cost factor is there, as well as the library, and those many things he has raised. I'm sure that you have heard everything. Now, being a person who has seen the Western world thoroughly, because you have studied there, and you are now the managing trustee of a educational foundation in UP. You are seeing the life in UP also. We would like to know the online education challenges and the way forward. Dr. Gautam Goel, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lal Goel, for having me here on the show. I would also like to thank V4 News, Global News, Global TV, Dr. Shastri, Vice Chancellor Sir, Dr. Sankaran Sir, and Uman Sir for being part of the show and inviting me amongst all of your dignitaries. I would like to start by saying that there are, I think, most of the courses are can be divided into two sections. One is the practical work or the lab work, and one is the theory work. Some parts of the theory or most part of the theory work can be taught online, and we should be migrating online because there is no need for students to come to a class and sit in the class to actually learn those sections of the theory for the theory subjects. But for the practical subjects, lab work, maybe students will still have to come to the college or to schools to complete that work. So it is very important that we look up the syllabus of each and every subject and see what can be migrated online and what needs to be done at the school or the college itself. So I totally agree with Professor Shastri, in which he had put out his the Panch Mantra, and I really think that is the way forward. That we need a blended system where we decide what part can be taught online and what part needs to be done in the school and the colleges. Secondly, I think a lot of our literature needs to go online. Where we are lacking right now, if you look at Google Books, they have almost all the books. They have the gadgets, acts of even legislations of India. But in India today, sitting in Mathura, suppose I want to know a legislation in Uttar Pradesh Assembly. There is a website, but it is very tough to navigate. Some parts are not there on it. And they asked me to go to Allahabad Public Library to find the hard copy. But how is it possible that the Americans are actually digitalizing our books and we don't know our own books? So we have a huge collection. In Gandhinagar, there is already a government institution by the name of InflibNet. So Mr. Uman was rightly pointing out. So it is already there. But do the students have access to that InflibNet? Do we require physical libraries in our colleges? In one of my libraries, I'm having around 1 lakh between 1 lakh and 2 lakh books. But do I really require that kind of infrastructure to run a college or for the access of the students? As the managing trustee, I don't think it is necessary. I think the expenditure is wasteful. Instead, the government should charge every student or charge the colleges as per the number of students they have, and they should digitalize all our books into the central server. So there is no need for wasteful expenditure on libraries. That is really a little bit, which is I feel that colleges and universities should put out this recommendation. Secondly, I feel that electricity is a little bit of a concern still, but at least 99 or 100% of the villages have an electricity connection now. So what we can do is that now, for example, in Uttar Pradesh, there are common service centers, CSCs, Jan Suvidha Kendras. Like that, there should be small libraries which the government should start. So it is possible that someone living in Mathura, he is studying at say Jain University in Karnataka. So he can just go to that common facility center. He can get internet and electricity. and he can access the course material of Jain University because he likes the professors from Jain University. Similarly, he can go for Delhi University. Similarly, he can go for DY Patil University. So depending on, so this infrastructure is required. Now the question comes about is what will happen to our buildings? We have constructed a lot of buildings. We have 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh square feet constructed areas as affiliated colleges. What will happen? There, I would like to point out that we will maybe have to branch out into research, something which I thought Professor Oman, Professor Sankar, and Professor Shastri had pointed out. The research is the next driver of should be the next driver of Indian education, because we cannot only be doing rote learning. This is a system which was adopted by the British, and then we followed the British into the affiliated system and the present university system. But now we can leapfrog ahead of the Western education system if we encourage research, if there is funding for research, if there is industry backing for research. So that is where our buildings can come into place. We can have more patents, we can have more innovations in which we can become market leaders. It is not necessary that maybe I require a road. I just require internet connection, I require power, I require access to the literature of the prestigious universities, I require my connection with my professor and maybe one or two colleagues who can help me in my research who are already postdoctoral fellows or advanced research fellows. So if I am getting these many facilities, I can do something for my country. I think that research can drive more jobs. So, and the advantage India has is that we have a lot of IT specialists. But we don't have bandwidth. So we should provide the bandwidth to institutions, to universities. This is where the government can come up. Government has some schemes, like for example, BSNL has schemes. We're getting internet at very subsidized rates. I say don't subsidize internet. I say charge full rate for internet, but give me the bandwidth and give me the proper internet connection. I am ready to pay full. So these are a little bit some things that can be worked out. Maybe with the corporates also, then we can have tie-ups where the corporates provide schools and colleges with and universities with good internet. And Reliance Geo recently they came to our university, our college, and they set up small. They in all our buildings they set up small panels in which they are providing 34 MB of internet to every student. But all of a sudden, coronavirus struck, and now students are not coming to the college or the university. So this should be provided directly to the students, that students can access it anywhere. And if they are having problem, please contact your local Seva Kendra or the local library, which is big enough and it is following all the COVID guidelines, and they can access the literature. I am saying this even though I'm running colleges, I'm running ITIs, I will have problems, but I think this is the future of education, because I worry that only a few certain top universities from abroad or from India will now take over education. There are some doubts in the self-finance colleges and universities that we will not be able, we don't have deep pockets like the top universities. So this is something that we will have to work on. Secondly, I think teachers or professors are paid very less. This is due to the regulations that we need to comply with. So if the regulations are made bare minimum, the NEP is very good, but I think the UGC is in a certain is in a certain place where they are actually recalibrating itself. Where there has been change in the structure of UGC. It might be merged with AICTE, and certain other regulatory authorities. NCT might come into one bracket. NCT, AICTE, PCI, MCI, DCI. There are all things are happening. So let the government come up with something before we can actually comment on how this will affect the ecosystem. But I think the government is working very hard. So my suggestion is that internet should be provided to all students. Library access can be from home itself through Google Books. Either we pay Google Books or our own InflipNet at Gandhinagar is so robust that we can all be part of that library system. And thirdly, research and innovation should become a central motto of education, and it should start at a very young age, maybe from 10th or 12th. Fourthly, I also think vocational education is very important, because now what will happen is that most of the jobs will be created on contract basis or on job basis. If you create this software for me, I will give you this much money. If you do this plumbing work for me, I will give you this much money. If you create this course for me, this subject for me, I will pay you this much money. So I think this is the future. So by doing this, not only teachers will be incentivized to make good lectures, online lectures, assessments can go online. Most of the assessments, as Professor Shastri had pointed out. So these are things that we need to change. Lastly, I'd say, as an affiliated college and our other colleges, what we are having problem is that we don't require so much land and building. So the norm should be lowered. We should be incentivized to make online courses so that we can reach more students in the rural areas. They don't need to come to college. College can be only reserved for research and innovation. Lastly, something that is not pointed out, where I always see in these education forums, is that we should also promote sports, because in sports, I think India is not very well ranked, and so I think the government should give some grants or some incentives so that we can promote sports in our universities and colleges, so that we can bring laurels to the country. And students, not everybody wants to is not a bright student, but they have a sportsman inside them. So they will develop instincts which can help our society, and tomorrow they might become a politicians, bureaucrats. They might become, they might run an NGO, and they can bring about positive change in our society. So I think sports is really is something what is lacking even today in our system. And so if we promote sports, then more students can get laurels back to our colleges, universities, and there will be some development in our college and schools. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gautam Goel. And Dr. Goel has given a different aspect of the education. He says that, yes, online education is the future, but for that, the infrastructure is required. And he mentioned that like now, he's running his colleges in different parts of UP. There, the electricity is a problem. Internet bandwidth is a problem. He says that there are centers developed by the government in the villages, Jila Panchayat or Panchayats, where they are providing those facilities. So allow the students to go there, give them the access so that they can go and log in any of the university which they like, if they are not having that type of internet at that place. He has also mentioned that although his college got the internet from the one of the company, internet supply company, the dealing company, but once the COVID has come, how the students can go to the college where they were getting 30 MB per student. So according to him, these types of facilities should be given to all the students at their home so that they can access from there only or from that center. And he also mentioned that although the government has developed one library in Gandhinagar, but it has to be done completely digitalization. His own experience says that there are books which has been digitalized by other countries, Indian books, but in India we don't have any such types of books properly digitalized. So it is very difficult for the students to search for the different books. Only they can go ahead whatsoever is prescribed. So many things he has mentioned. He has also mentioned about the role of UGC and how they are controlling the salaries of the professors or the teachers. He says this should be totally free now, independent, and it should be on the job basis. The advantage will be the quality of the education will improve. The teacher or the professor will definitely get more money which they are getting now because of the control from the UGC and others. And he says that more practicality should come. Online and offline, he's very clearly said that we should have a division. Only those where the study materials, where they have to read only, that should be online. But there are some things which has to be done practical, that should be in person, where the student has to go to the college. One more point he has mentioned now, there because the colleges and universities have lots of land and buildings. Now, because of the online education, they are almost useless. Very few things are required. So for that, his suggestion is that we must convert them for the research center so that the students can go there, do the research, which can be funded by the government or by the corporate houses, so that we can do something, we can have more patents. And although he has not added, but I can add, we can also bring Nobel Prize like Dr. C.V. Raman, which we are lacking very much in India. Thank you very much, Dr. Gautam Goel, for giving such a insight. And your views are totally in a different way, the practical way which you have mentioned, which others have mentioned about the online. You have also mentioned that online and offline, what are the problems, and as well as the management or self-financed colleges are facing today. So that is one more thing which you have added about the sports. I would like to inform you the Jain University, Professor Shastri will vouch for me, is having one of the best sports complex in India as far as the universities level is concerned, which I'm sure Dr. Shastri will tell more about that. But yes, it is there. But you are right that it is in very, very few universities or colleges we have to develop for everything. Thank you very much, Dr. Goel, for giving your views. Now I would like to go to Professor Dr. Shastri. Professor Shastri, we have spoken, you have also spoken about online. Everybody has spoken challenges as well as the positive points also. But my question to you is, will online education, will the relationship between the teachers and the students change if teaching is provided on digital platform? Right now, what is happening that teacher and students have a guru shishya parampara. But now, once they are online, they will not have that respect or that feeling what they used to have, because we belongs to the India belongs to the Gurukul education system. What you say, Dr. Shastri, about that?
Let me speak from experience on this. When we graduated to online teaching in March, we were fully dealing with students who we had already seen in the physical classroom. So I think there was no challenge with regard to the social connect. All these boys and girls had seen us, we had seen all of them. So I think the rapport building was not so much of a challenge because these boys and girls already knew us and we knew them. I must say that when the new semester started in June, especially when we had the new admissions coming in, these were boys and girls who had never met us and we had never met. And we were meeting for the first time online. I would concede the point that it took us little time to get to know each other. It was not like before where they already knew us beforehand, but here they were seeing us for the first time online. So a little more conscious effort was needed to be able to relate to them, for them to be able to relate to us, to build up that rapport with them. It took us a little time. I would concede that point, and I would make the point that it requires a conscious effort to actually build that rapport. It does not automatically happen. On a minor point which Gautamji raised, I think Gautamji made a very, very scintillating presentation on what the future holds. Only a small footnote to what Gautamji said. I would believe that even in non practical subjects, wholly theoretical subjects, uh, I believe that some opportunity for a face to face dialogue is actually very useful. Because let's remember, at the end of the day, there is an important emotional connect which has to be established. There is that important emotional bonding that happens between the different people in the learning process. So I would say, in an ideal situation, pandemic is not an ideal situation. Therefore, we have to go in for 100% online learning. But I would say, in an ideal situation, even for non practical subjects, I would plead for at least a percentage of the learning being face to face, so that one supplements the other, one makes up for the inadequacies of the other. So that's the only small point I would add to the brilliant narration that we heard from Gautamji.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Shastri. And you have not given the about.
Okay, I forgot to mention one point. I think I was smiling from year to year when Gautamji was talking. Half our current IPL team, I am proud to say, are not only my alumni but are my current students. We at Jain have given tremendous importance to sports. Last time, I think four of those who donned the Indian colors in the Olympics were our students. And We allow them to pursue their sports in as rigorous a way they want. And then, because they are such achievers, they also become achievers in education, because it does not take them too much time to be able to prepare for an exam. So we at Jain are proud that our university has I invite all of you to our facilities. We have state of the art sports facilities on our campus. And that has been something that my chancellor has been very, 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 very keen on promoting.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Shastri. Definitely, we would like to come, but after the COVID time. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Sankran. Dr. Sankran, will online education reduce the cost of education? Like Dr. Goel has mentioned that now buildings are not required, that of infrastructure is not required, whatsoever is already there is there, but you don't require the new establishments. And online education, according to you, will reduce the cost of education and be more affordable to the students? Dr. Shankran, please. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Yes, to answer your question, yes, it's going to reduce the costs. I think generally we have been giving a lot of importance to tangible assets, and intangible assets have not gotten the importance it deserves. That's my view. And again, I mean, it's not that I don't want to blame regulatory system. And what I was trying to say earlier was that also socially we need to change, for instance, because I think when parents come, they typically get more impressed by what is physical. And so both from the regulatory point of view, as well as from the social point of view, as well as student point of view, as well as the way we are actually projecting ourselves, I think there's a lot to change. And I think it was in the last encounter with you, I was saying how the library is given maximum importance, kind of a thing. So I think intangibles have to take the center stage. They're more long lasting, they remain with us, but on the surface they don't appear to be that important. So we need to have a greater sense of that. So yes, to answer your question, I think it's going to dramatically reduce the costs, and I think we are already seeing it.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sankran. It's a good news for the students who are going for online that the cost is reducing.
I'll just say one more thing.
Yes, please.
There are students. I sit in a village. Nitte is a village actually, and there are a lot of students with connectivity problems. But by being humane and understanding of their situation, I think we've been able to give a second exam, a little bit more work for faculty. Then we need to have certain other things in place so that we actually do test them, but not test them, we assess them, and the feedback can be very, very effective, because we can give written feedback to each individual on written stuff and so on. So exam has to be very different.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Sir, Dr. Sankran. And now my question is to Professor Oman. Professor Oman, in rural areas, midday meal schemes are essential to boost the nutrition and to improve class attendance. You have also spoken about BPL students and the village. We are talking of there the malnutrition is a problem. Now in this online, is there any way to ensure that these meals continue to students? Professor Oman, please. Professor Oman, can you hear me? I think there is
the last part of the question. I couldn't hear the last part of the question.
Last part is that due to the online, now this which we were giving the midday meal to the students who are coming to the schools or colleges, now they are not getting it because they are not coming to schools and colleges. So is there any way, because of the online education, they are sitting at home, how the midday meal will reach to them? Is there any provision college or universities or government is making for that?
First, one thing, universities are not providing the midday meal. That's the one thing. The last part of your question. Other side, with the school children, midday meal program is a government program. It's not the program of a school. And public health department or education department has set a role that the health workers or the Anganwadi workers, they are taking the food, giving the food, taking the food to the houses, delivering it at the houses. So it's not a big issue at all. We do have a very good supply chain. But how do you manage it and whether it reaches the right point at the right time, that is that's more important.
Okay. So
that's important. We do have a public distribution system, very effective public distribution system. But unfortunately, these supplies, these nutrition products, programs are not reaching the right person, the right students, at the right place, at the right time. That's the unfortunate thing. So we have to enforce. We have to enforce those the department. That's all. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you, Professor Oman, for giving your views. Now, Dr. Goel, you have mentioned about that a person sitting at Mathura can access the library or the course of Jain University, Bengaluru. Now, my question to you is, if it is so, then a person, a boy or girl is staying anywhere in India can also access MIT, Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, anywhere. Then what will be the future of Indian colleges or universities? Or this is one side. The other side is then the standard of all the colleges and universities have to go up, because there is a competitive market. And once the competitive market, then if you have to come stand alone, you have to improve your teaching skills, teaching standard. What you say, Dr. Gautam Goel, please.
Sir, you're absolutely correct, spot on. I think the best universities will actually do very well, and middle to lower middle universities which are not doing good job and which are relying on some unscrupulous means, they will be out of the market. It is a known fact. So it is possible that I can get a MIT degree in Mathura for maybe 3 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees or 1 lakh rupees. So I will not want to do a university degree in India which is worth more than that, because MIT does not mind if there are 2 million followers, they can have 2 million, 10,000 followers. It does not make a difference to them, and I will get the same degree. So I think that is the future. It is inevitable. We can't stop it. The thing that we can do is systematize, be more efficient. Library services can be centralized. But only research and development and sports should be promoted at the college level, university level. The rest of the matter should most maximum should go online assessments. So we can be as good as MIT or any other university. Plus, we can get their universities, their professors to be also part of our research programs, of our course curriculum, syllabus, lectures. Because the laws of physics, whether it is in India or whether it is in US, they are the same. The laws of chemistry, whether it is in India or it is in the US, it is the same. So it is very important that we get these top professors also to be part of our system, where they can reach our students and our students can benefit from them also. There will be no layoffs in Indian education system because our professors should be more involved in research and development. So I think the new breed of teachers who are doing the B.Ed and BTC and other courses, M.Ed, PhDs and education, now they should be moving towards research and development. So I think that will happen. There was a question I think you asked Mr. Ruman regarding the providing of midday meals. I think now today, because I'm also running.
Please be brief. Yeah.
Yes, small distributorship. So now most of the cylinders are being developed after confirmation comes through OTP. So similarly, when the midday meal is developed, is given to the student by the Anganwadi worker, a small OTP can come to that mobile phone of that recipient, because they are all attached to Aadhaar now, all the students. So then the OTP, they can just give the OTP. That means that the Anganwadi worker has reached that house. So now if you look at the LPG supplies in the country, they have become world class. Booking is online and there is no need for any contact, and that the LPG has been delivered. So it is all possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Goel. So you have seen today the experts of the field, the experience, the educated, qualified professors, doctors. They have given their views about the online education, and they are very positive that online education, yes, but it has to be used in a blended way, wherever you require online, yes, but wherever the in-person education is required, that is to be done. And more emphasis to be given where we have a library on digitalization and whatnot. And all are of this view that in spite of the pandemic, we are, because of the online education, the education is imparted. Only thing is the improvement is required, and mainly for the infrastructure, whether it's electricity or the bandwidth or the network. So thank you very much for all of you to giving such a type of very informative, educative views of yours. I'm sure our viewers might have got very, very much educated, enlightened today. And tomorrow, as you know that 1 week, the 6 days, we are doing all serious works, but tomorrow we have kept it off for the edutainment. Yes, that is education and entertainment. And tomorrow we have a program, that media conference with Lal Goel, Swar Sangeet, and my guest artist tomorrow is Miss Abhipsa Mohapatra. She's a renowned child singer from Bengaluru. And so please join tomorrow. You can be relaxed and enjoy the musical programs, the songs from the different sung by the different legendaries of India. And please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Shastri. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sankran. Thank you very much, Professor Oman. And thank you very much, Dr. Gautam Goel, for joining and giving your views. Thank you very much, viewers.
Thank you.